You ever stop and think about what's really making a modern business tick? From your local coffee shop to a global airline, there are these invisible engines running everything in the background. Well, those are information systems. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see how they're built and why they literally shape our entire world.
So let's start with a little puzzle. On one hand, you've got a simple spreadsheet. On the other, an ATM you use every day. And way over on the other side of the universe, you've got a massively complex airline reservation system. What could they possibly have in common? Right? They seem totally different. But I promise you, they are all built from the exact same blueprint.
And the answer to that puzzle is understanding what an information system really is. And here's the secret. It's not actually just about the technology. It's about the very building blocks of how a business gets stuff done. The best way to think about it is like a recipe. An information system is just a specific combination of ingredients. You've got people, you've got procedures, and you've got resources. And their whole job is to take raw, messy data and transform it into something useful, something you can actually make a decision with. It's a living process, not just a piece of code.
So let's break down that recipe. You've got 4 core things. First, people. That's everybody from the person typing in an order to the analyst who designed the whole thing. Then you've got the hardware, the actual computers and servers you can touch. The software is the brain. It's the code telling the hardware what to do. And finally, you've got the data itself. That's the flour and sugar that the system bakes into a useful insight. Okay, so now we know what they're made of, but not all information systems are the same. Just like a good mechanic has a whole wall of specialized tools, businesses have a whole variety of systems, and each one is designed for a very specific job.
At the most fundamental level, you've got systems that just handle transactions, and they do it in 2 main ways. Some use batch processing. They collect a bunch of transactions and run them all at once later, like a bank clearing checks overnight. It's efficient for them, but then you have real-time processing, like when you tap your credit card. That has to happen immediately. It's all about that trade-off between what's efficient for the business and what's convenient for you. So once all that transaction data is collected, you've got to show it to the right people. A manager might get a weekly sales report from a management information system, or MIS. It's a summary. But the CEO? They need an executive information system, or EIS. That's more like an interactive dashboard. They can see the big picture, spot trends, and drill down into problems. It's the difference between just reading a flight plan and actually flying the plane. And you can see here just how these systems are woven into every part of a company. Sales, manufacturing, finance, they all have systems to process transactions and help make decisions. But check out that bottom row, execution systems. These systems don't just show you information, they do things. They generate a bid, they diagnose a broken machine, they approve a loan. The whole thing is this incredibly complex, interconnected ecosystem. Now, this is really important. When a company rolls out a new information system, it is not just a simple software upgrade. It's a form of planned organizational change. And that change can be anything from a tiny little tweak to a complete reinvention of the business itself.
Think of it like a ladder of change. On the very first rung, you have automation. That's just using tech to do the same old task a little faster. Climb up a step, and you get to rationalization, where you start cleaning up procedures and getting rid of bottlenecks. Higher still is re-engineering, where you radically redesign how work gets done. And at the very top, that's the paradigm shift. That's when you rethink the entire business from the ground up.
I love this quote because it makes the difference so clear. Automation is like swapping in a bigger engine to make your car go faster. A paradigm shift is like inventing the airplane or the Hyperloop. One is just an improvement, the other is a total revolution.
But here's the catch. As you climb that ladder, the risk goes through the roof. Automation is pretty low risk, low reward. It's a safe bet. But those huge world-changing paradigm shifts, they promise massive rewards, but they also have something like a 70% failure rate. It's a classic case of high risk, high reward. So, because the stakes are so high, every single business eventually faces a huge question. Do we try to build and manage these complicated systems ourselves, or do we just pay someone else to do it for us? This is the classic build or buy question, the outsourcing dilemma.
And there's no easy answer. On one hand, outsourcing can save you money and give you access to experts you couldn't hire otherwise. But you also give up a ton of control. You might be putting sensitive information at risk, and you're basically tying the fate of your company to the success of another one.
So the key is to be really strategic about it.
It makes sense to outsource things that aren't core to your business, right? Like payroll. Let someone else handle that. But you should probably keep the systems that give you your competitive edge in-house. You never want to outsource something you absolutely cannot afford to have fail.
All right, let's tie all of this together with something every business on Earth is chasing: quality. Because these days, having high-quality products and services isn't just a nice-to-have, it is a matter of survival. And this obsession with quality led to a big idea called Total Quality Management, or TQM. The whole point of TQM is that quality isn't just one person's job at the end of an assembly line. No, it's a culture. It has to be baked into every single thing the company does, and it's everyone's responsibility. And this is where information systems become the hero of the story. You really can't do TQM without them. They give you the tools for better product design, they streamline processes to reduce errors, and they provide the mountains of data you need to really understand your customers and see how you stack up against the competition. They're absolutely essential. And that brings us to a final, pretty mind-bending thought. We talked about how these systems can create massive paradigm shifts. So now, with AI starting to design and run the next generation of these systems, what's the next big revolution? What part of business as we know it is about to be completely reinvented? That's a question that's going to define the next decade.